I've played a couple times before. I really love it. It's by Omkara and Gautama, and it's called Let Our Name Be Amen. And it's a beautiful song, and we'll meditate right after that.
Let our lives be timeless gratitude and mighty joy. Let our hearts be great peace and Holy Spirit. Let our name be Amen, 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 Amen. Om of existence, keep this life inside you. Hide me in your heart, merge me in your being. Let our name be Amen, 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 Amen. Oh,
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. That song is called Let Thy Name Be Amen. And it's a beautiful song. I played it a couple times before. It always puts me in a good heart space where I feel just grateful for what I have in life. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm grateful for you and just sharing this moment, just this present moment with each other to connect in our hearts and our spirits and from the truth of who we are, this very present moment. So if you haven't already, just get yourself comfortable and just taking in a nice deep breath. And just really letting go of any stress, any worries, any burdens. There's really no need to carry them, certainly for this meditation, but for not for life either. So oftentimes we're so hard on ourselves about what we should do or what we should say or what we should have done or should have said, and just really getting trapped by the judgment, the blame, the fears of the mind, of the ego. And this meditation is about simply offering you something, offering you a way out of that trap, offering you a way into the infinite possibilities that are present in here with you, with all of us right now in this very moment and in every moment. It can, of course, be a hard pill to swallow for the mind, because the mind is always wanting to be somebody or something, and it has all these ideas of what success and really what happiness is. And I guess the irony of it all is the very seeking of the mind to find happiness is perhaps the very thing that keeps us from experiencing it. And I want to just extrapolate on that a little bit, because, from the mind and what our egoic self, our small self, has believed of the mind, has been the trap. And yet, our ego self, our personality, has had certain instances of beauty and good, and there's nothing wrong with seeking good in our lives, but from the mind's perspective, good and happiness are only an idea and concept, because there's no beingness within the mind. So all it functions on is ideas, beliefs, concepts. And so it's always seeking out what it thinks is good for us, is good for the ones we care about, and it's always looking for solutions. And so all this looking, all this seeking from the mind keeps us locked into the mind. It keeps our mind busy. And how can we possibly be still? And the verse in the Bible, be still and know that I am God. How can we really know God? How can we really know life? How can we really know ourselves if we're so immersed in the beliefs, ideas, and concepts of the mind? Right now, I just invite you to truly let go of all of the past. The past is gone. It's done. And there is no reason to carry it forth, even though the mind might try to convince you, the ego might try to convince you that there's all kinds of things that we need to do, and we made a mess and we need to clean it up. We are responsible in some form or fashion for everything, and that's how karma shows up in our lives. But with that said, what is done is done. And just simply by fully coming back into the present moment, that doesn't carry the past or the future into it, just being fully present right now in this moment, all of the past disappears. And we are just rooted in the pure beingness of who we are. But we, of course, cannot be rooted in that pure beingness if we're carrying the past into the present. But the beautiful thing, the absolutely beautiful thing about the being fully present is the past disappears, so anything that we've blamed or judged ourselves for, or blamed or judged others for, falls away. It's like an instant forgiveness of ourselves and others. And sometimes we feel guilty or we carry shame about things that we have done in the past. And we feel maybe we need to suffer or we need to go through some trials and tribulations because, after all, we made that mess. Well, who is the we that made the mess? Is it the truth of who you are, or is it just a belief and idea of who you think you are, and that you acted out of an unconscious place of being? How could it be otherwise? How could you possibly make choices that are of wisdom, that are of love, that are of truth, if you don't know what that is, if you're not rooted in the very truth of who you are, and you're only coming from beliefs, ideas, and concepts? You can only function to the degree that you believe you're able to, from a place of being unconscious. So when you say you've made all these errors, these mistakes, that you've sinned, or whatever someone wants to call it, who is it that made the mistakes? This was not you. This was not you, only an idea of who you thought you are. And that idea is coming from a place of being unconscious and unaware of the truth of who you are, which is the only way you can make the perfect choice that is in alignment with life and with our beloved Creator. Right now, I just invite you to let go of your need to figure anything out, which only engages the mind and empowers the mind, as if the mind is the one who is going to solve all of our problems and find happiness for us, which it does not truly know what it is. Only an idea and a belief of what happiness is. But there's truly nothing to figure out. And the more you let go of that belief, that idea, the more you surrender into life and into God and the divine and perfect flow of life. When you stop listening to everything the mind has to say. I also invite you just to let go of your mind as your source of intelligence, as your source of information. Yes, the mind can be used in different functions to solve math problems and other things that you need to use it for, but not to solve the psychological and spiritual aspects of life. The spiritual aspects of life are beyond comprehension of the mind because it's not logical. And that is how the mind functions. And this world that we have all bought into at different times, the world of just pure logic and no beingness, no spirituality in it. This is the world that we've been trapped in for many years, and I will say that kind of the male white dominance of the world, and particularly the male dominance is more rooted in the head, where women are typically more rooted in their heart, in their emotions. And so my teacher Sadashiva said, if the world is to truly awaken, if humanity is to be saved, it will be by bringing in the energy of Ishani, which is the feminine energy. Because we've been so much in the masculine that we have not been able to bring in the women's intuition and the emotional part of it. Now, with that said, emotions are part of the mental structure as well, even though perhaps they're a higher vibration than just pure logic, because they're coming from more of the heart space. We can't deny our feelings, though. You will not win the game by denying your thoughts or denying your feelings, but by simply being present and aware of them. And if you heard my meditation the other day, you would hear that I had a lot of anger and even hatred come up the other day that I was sharing. And I shared that because I don't want anyone to take on this energy of feeling bad or wrong because they have feelings of anger or even hatred. Those feelings in and of themselves, there's nothing bad or wrong about them. It's just a feeling. It's just a thought. And is all part of the construct of the mind. And as one of my favorite movies said, you're caught in the matrix. The matrix is believing everything, all the illusions that the mind has convinced us is true. If you're open for it, I simply want to offer a way out of the matrix, to unplug and to discover your true self. And in the matrix they showed that there's a struggle. When you first come out of discovering yourself, actually really, I would say that it's more, you come to a place of confusion. You come to a place of confusion to say and really ask sincerely the question, who am I really? Do I really know who I am? I have all these ideas that, yes, I'm a man, I'm skinny, I'm 60 years old, I'm a speaker, I'm a meditation teacher. But do any of those thoughts, any of those beliefs have anything to do with who I am? And do any of the thoughts and beliefs have anything to do with who you are? And what is it that's beyond all those thoughts and beliefs? Is there something there? Is there a deeper truth that is beyond the mind, beyond the body, beyond the thoughts, beliefs, feelings, experiences, and 5 senses? Well, let's find out. Let's so fully empty out all of those things, at least for this meditation, that you can explore with the freedom and truth of who you are. And what do we mean by freedom? We mean that as long as you are trapped in the cage and the prison of the mind, meaning that the mind judges. The mind is caught in duality, in good and bad, right and wrong. And as long as you are caught in that duality, there will always be fear, there will always be shame, there will always be guilt, there will always be blame, because that is what the mind does. The mind assesses the situation and then assigns a value to it. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. And it carries that until we recognize that that belief that we've identified with as the truth, until that identification falls away. And so I'm offering you an opportunity right now to let all of those things that you've identified with as the truth of who you are to fall away right now. And you don't have to do some amazing feats, and you don't have to wait for something to happen that will bring you happiness and help you to become free. You don't have to climb a mountaintop or find a guru. All that's being asked, all that you're being invited to do, is to let go of all of those things that you've identified with as the truth of who you are, and see if you don't experience freedom. See if you don't experience peace, because there's nothing to fight against anymore. All your fight is of the mind, and everything that the mind has convinced you is true. I sometimes feel and share my love for you. And on one hand, it's beautiful for our small self to hear it, because our small self feels broken, incomplete, and wants and needs support. But the truth of who you are needs none of that. The question is then, again, who are you? And perhaps more importantly, how do you recognize, how do you realize, fully realize, which is self-realization, how do you fully realize the truth of who you are? There's many ways. My approach is to let go of all the things that you are not. Let go of all those beliefs and ideas that block you from recognizing the very truth of who you are right this very moment and every moment. So what is it that you're holding on to that blocks you from realizing your truth? So right now, I just invite you to let go of any and all labels, self-images, personality, anything to do with the ego or beliefs about who you are. I invite you just to completely empty that out. Let it all go right now if you're open for it. Or at least for this meditation, so that you can at least get a glimpse of the truth of who you are. And I also invite you to let go of anything that you're holding on to. Anything that you're holding on to, certainly any ideas and beliefs that you're holding on to. But I also mean physical things as well. Unconsciously, we don't recognize sometimes that we're holding, we have an emotional grip, a vibrational grip on certain things because we have a belief that we have to hold on to these things, otherwise we may lose them. So we hold on to our material things. We try to hold on to these things. We try to hold on to our money. We try to hold on to our loved ones. And we try to hold on to life itself. And to God. We try to hold on to God, or whatever that higher source is, if there is one for you. But what is the truth? Is the truth the only way you can keep these things is to hold on to them, to put all this effort and hold a tight grip on them so that they never get away? And is that freedom? Is that true freedom? By being watchful, on guard, to make sure that nothing or no one ever strips these away from you? That doesn't feel like freedom to me, where we're having to put all this effort forth so that none of these things that we are attached to keeping escape us. And that certainly doesn't feel like it's offering freedom to our loved ones if we're holding on to them so tightly that they can't walk freely in this world. So I invite you to let go of all of that, even life and even God. Because the truth is, when you step beyond the beliefs and the mind and the body and all the physical things, and all that's left is you, you realize that you can't get rid of you. And you realize that you are life itself. So you don't need to hold on to you. You don't need to hold on to life. You don't even need to hold on to God, because they are ever present. And your mind might say, well, then why don't I feel them all the time? Because you are carrying a belief. You are identifying with some truth that is blocking you from realizing who you are. And so life says, okay, let me give you this experience so that you can recognize that there is judgment, that there is stress, that there's something that is disharmonious here. And I'm bringing this to you to help you see that you are not that disharmony. You are not that belief. And I'm here to break down that so that you stop buying into that as if it's the truth of who you are. And when you do stop buying into it, then you can recognize at least a deeper truth of who you are. So all these things that we say life and God are challenging us with, no, not actually so. Life and God are simply bringing us situations to help us recognize that we are not that belief that we have bought into. It helps us to stop identifying with those things that we are not. And so when we ask, what is freedom? When we step beyond all those false truths, those illusions, those fears in particular, because behind every belief, behind every stress, behind all the negativity in our life, there is a core fear behind all of it. And A Course in Miracles tells us that there's only love or fear. I hesitate to share what writings say. I love A Course in Miracles. I don't use it simply because I had a hard time understanding it. I actually go through experiences in life, and then I am able to comprehend what A Course in Miracles is actually describing. And I do know that there is either only love or fear. And what we choose to fall behind, what we choose to follow, is up to us. So when I say you are beautiful, when I say you are love, it's never something I'm trying to convince you of or persuade you of. I don't want to add to more beliefs in your mind. I actually want to empty all of those out so that you can experience and be that truth that you have always been seeking. I also invite you to let go of any control for this meditation, but especially for life. What is there to control? And who is in control? Are you in control? And who is that you? And I would say that as long as you're believing the mind, that the ego is in control, you are not in control anyhow. And the ego tries to be in control. And the ego is also afraid of being out of control. And sometimes when we say that person is so out of control, I invite you to be out of control right now. Not in a way that our mind is in control, though. Because sometimes when people are out of control, it's actually they have given their power over to the mind, to the ego, and the ego is in control. So they're not actually out of control. When you, the true you, lets go of control, it's giving it over to life and to God to say, let thy will be my will. To let me align with every thought, every word, and every deed. And there's no trying or effort involved. It's simply making a choice to let thy will be my will. And I have made the choice to say to God, my go-to, there's not one single thing that I don't give you permission to in my life. And our small self gets scared of that because it's so afraid that God will, if we don't hold on to that somehow then God will bring something horrendous in our life. Look, I can never promise you, I don't know what God's going to bring you or me. I just know that for me, true freedom resides when I give it all over, my entire life, my entire being, over to God. And that it does include all my money, all my material things, my home, all of my loved ones, and all of life itself. And to me, that is freedom. So just bringing your awareness to your breath. And just be aware of the breath. And when we empty out everything, and if there's anything that you feel you're holding on to, any stress, any of the past, which means all your shame, your guilt, your blame, and let go of all the future. Just empty all of it out. When you empty all of it out, and I've said before, the only things left is your true self. Your true self is the one simply witnessing all of it. Witnessing your thoughts, witnessing your feelings, witnessing your beliefs, witnessing your body and your mind, witnessing all the experiences, witnessing all the five senses. Because none of those things can witness you. It is only you that can be aware, consciously aware, and witness them. And that is you. That is you, the one who is witnessing my voice right now, the one who is witnessing any thoughts you have, the one who is witnessing your breath. You are simply witnessing, watching, observing the movie of life, without any need or desire to change the movie. And with that said, there may be thoughts, there may be beliefs, there may be feelings, there may be desires and attachments to want to change the movie. To say, man, I really don't like how this movie of life is playing out. I'm going to change the movie. I'm going to change this over there and that over here. And that is when we start trying to control life and perhaps trying to control others and maybe even manipulate others, maybe trying to manipulate life, even though you can't, to try to get it the way your mind and ego believe it should be. But when we're truly observing and witnessing life, witnessing the movie of life, it's not that we're denying our attachments and desires to change it. We're simply witnessing those as well. And sometimes when people hear, you need to let go of all of your attachments, then they have an attachment and desire to get rid of the attachments and desires. So it of course doesn't work, because you're just adding another attachment and desire. The one thing you can do is to simply witness how you're wanting to let go of the attachments, and to witness the one who has a desire to get rid of the desires, has an attachment to get rid of the attachments. You are a witness of all of it. And we've spoken of the small self, how the small self does want things. It wants to be happy. It might be seeking happiness. It might even tell us that, it's good that we love other people. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But I'm inviting you to go deeper. To go deeper and be a witness to the one who wants love, who wants peace. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting peace, wanting joy, wanting love, wanting God. But as long as you stay in the wanting, you will not recognize that you are already love, you are already peace, you are already joy, you are already one with God. And so we come back to the breath, which is coming back to the present moment and coming back home to you, the one who is simply being conscious and aware and witnessing your mind, the thoughts, and witnessing the small self. And the small self may be aware of the thoughts. The small self may be aware, oh, okay, I see I'm being really hard on myself. I don't want to be hard on myself. But just take a look at that thought. So your small self says, oh, I see how I'm being hard on myself. I don't want to be hard on myself. Who is it that is able to witness that thought? Who is the one that realizes it's never hard on itself? It's only love, it's only peace, it's only joy. So the very fact that your small self is wanting to be kinder to yourself gives you a clue that it's not your true self. That is the true self that is already peace and joy and love. But I'm not asking you to try to be peace, joy, and love. I'm asking you to continue to let go of that which you are not and to witness all of it. Just be the witness of all of it. So just coming back to being aware of your breath, and when the thoughts come in, you don't need to fight them, struggle with them, try to get rid of them, try to correct them. You don't need to do anything with them other than just simply allow them to pass on by, because they're not who you are. They're not who you are, no more than the gentle breeze is who you are. You allow the breeze to do its thing, and you just notice, oh, okay, I see this, I feel this gentle breeze flowing by me. I don't need to stop it or fight against it or change it or correct it. It's the same thing with the thoughts. You are not the thoughts any more than you are the breeze. But it's only the belief that you are those thoughts and somehow that is who you are that traps you from fully realizing who you truly are. So I invite you right now to let go of the belief, any belief that you are the thought. That somehow that is you. And somehow that has anything to do with who you are. No. It has nothing to do with who you are. And you are not the one that is doing all the thinking. You are not the one doing all the thinking. That is not you. That is your mind being busy, and you have believed it to be you. You are not the thinker. Yes, the mind does provide certain things for you, but it does not provide the answers, the solutions. That doesn't provide you sustaining peace, sustaining joy, or sustaining love. You are the one witnessing the thinker, witnessing the thoughts, witnessing the mind. And you don't need one single thought to be any different than what it is, because it is not you. When you fully recognize this, that is awakening. That is awakening when the mind, the thoughts, beliefs about who you are separate from the one who is aware of those things, aware of all of life. You are the awareness. You are conscious awareness. Again, I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just inviting you to let go of those things that block you from realizing this truth. And now we just simply come back to being aware of the breath, consciously aware of the breath. And when the thoughts come in, consciously aware of the thoughts, allow them to gently pass on by and come back to being consciously aware of the breath. And we'll allow my puppy's bark to be perfect part of this meditation. And if your mind says, I don't like that thought, the sound, or I like that sound, either way, simply notice what your mind has to say about it. Allow that thought to pass on by because it's not you, and simply come back to being consciously aware of your breath. And if your mind has drifted, just simply come back to the present moment, which is coming back to consciously observing your breath, coming back home, back to the conscious awareness, back to the conscious observer of life. And if your mind has drifted, just simply come back to being conscious and aware of your breath. And I like to do this occasionally when we're meditating more the stillness. Sometimes we lose the sensation of our physical body, and it can be, and this is how it unfolded for me, that you can recognize that you are not your physical body. What is that energy? What is that beingness that is beyond any form, beyond anything physical, that is able to simply notice and be aware of the body, and notice and be aware of all of it, but certainly anything physical, to know that it is not that, but it is the formless truth of who we are. And you have to get beyond this believing that you're this form in any way in order to fully access and be that truth of who you are. And now just coming back to being aware of the breath, and just perhaps even being consciously aware of your physical body, and to know that you are not that. And if your mind is drifted, just simply coming back to being consciously aware of your breath. You are the one that is witnessing all of it. So it's almost 11 o'clock, and we're going to bring this meditation to completion. If you want to continue meditating, please mute or turn your device off. And thank you so much for joining me. And for those of you who are ready to finish the meditation, taking in a nice deep breath. And just really grounding and rooting yourself in your physical body. And just moving your body a little bit, stretching it. And taking your time, and whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining, my friend. Thank you so much for joining. Always so grateful for you. And I just want to check YouTube also. I'm guessing it's probably Sandy, but let's see. And well, I don't see anything, but whoever's on YouTube, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. And there's Sandy. Okay. Yes, I will, Sandy. Thank you. All right. You guys have a beautiful day. And if you want to join me, Zoom tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the evening Eastern Time. And also on Facebook Live as well. Okay? All right. Have a beautiful day, you guys. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.